Greetings, friends. Today, I have another coach for you in the next episode of Coach Excellence Coaching Conversations. A friend, indeed, after several coaching conversations we had, I'm glad to present Priti Gupta. A short introduction about her. Priti is a ICF ACC credentialed coach and currently pursuing her PCC journey. She's an engineer by background and is now practicing executive and leadership coaching. She coaches clients across the globe. Her goal is to coach, as a coach, is to help you achieve your goals. I would probably help you help yourself achieve your goals as a coach. So, with that, on request of Preeti, we are jumping in right into the conversation. So, the very first question for you, Preeti: what is coaching to you?
Hi, Kiran. Thank you so much for this introduction.
Hi.
And by my sincere gratitude for having me over here and giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts.
Our pleasure.
So, coming to your question, Kiran, what is coaching to me? Coaching is partnering with your client through meaningful conversations to enable him to go on an inner journey to discover his hidden potentials. It's all about empowering your clients to make him better equipped to take decisions and own his choices that he makes. So, if allow me to share an analogy over here. The client is the pilot of his plane. The plane symbolizes his life. And I, as a coach, I'm the co pilot. So, my role is not to steer the plane for him. My role is to show him what's happening around, what might be coming in his way of moving forward. It could be his limiting beliefs, it could be his unconscious bias, his blind spots, his fears, insecurities. By highlighting these, I am giving him more power to have the clarity and awareness to steer his plane in the direction he wants to. This is how I see coaching. And to sum it all, coaching is all about a sustainable transformation, which doesn't happen overnight. It's a process.
I think I don't have to sum it up now. It was so rich and a fabulous way to begin. I am overwhelmed, probably is one word, but I would still try to pick the words and sentences that stood out for me in this very deep, meaningful response that you shared. I think there is a lot of pearls here. You mentioned partnering with the client. It's a beautiful space, and we all agree partnerships are a beautiful space to be in and also feel the sense of belonging. And you also mentioned about the inner journey that everyone would like to start at some point, and it's always better to start it today than wait for tomorrow. You also mentioned about how one can realize their true potential. And it's so true that most of us do not realize our true potential till we reach, uh, till we are challenged, or till we reach the difficult spot when you are compelled. Whereas in a coaching situation, I noticed that often this true potential comes out much sooner than waiting for a situation for it to be forced out. And you also mentioned how one can own up their own choices. So to me, these all were like it was difficult for me to quickly capture them with few pointers on the page. And the analogy that you gave stood out for me. The coachee himself or herself being the pilot, they are seeing everything in front of them. As a co-pilot, we enable, or you can say we help them help themselves and make choices that they love to own and make progress. So this is a fabulous way to begin. So now, and even I think I shouldn't miss out the last one. You mentioned about sustainable transformation. One is transformation. Another is sustainable transformation. I would request all the audience to make note of this point. Sustainable transformation, if you can sustain, I think where you can reach is just time will. So with that, I'm eager to go jump to the next question. According to you, who benefits from having a coach?
So, Kiran, you very beautifully explained then, about the sustainable transformation. And when we think of benefit, there are two parts in this. Having a coach, anybody can have a coach. People who are seeking clarity, who want to transition from one role to another, who are stuck, or somebody who wants to expand or scale their performance. Uh, there are people who want to figure out what is their life's purpose. So there are many scenarios under which a person can have a coach. The main challenge over there is how do you benefit more from having a coach? And as I see it, it is all about investing in yourself. So the more the client invests in himself in terms of commitment of time, commitment of effort, and accountability, that decides his gain from the coaching session. It's all about taking ownership of himself. That makes a difference.
Three things definitely stood out as you shared this detail. Investing in oneself, I think, is one of the best thing one can do. We keep looking out. How can I succeed? After education ends, I think most of us get caught up in the workplace and the family life that many forget to invest in themselves. I think it's not about not having an intent, it's just that it slips the mind. And then once one invests in themselves, if they have made so much progress in their educational years, I think one can only imagine what they would achieve if they continue to invest even after they start working. And you also mentioned about one taking full ownership of themselves. When they take ownership, automatically the coaching conversations become much more meaningful. And you also mentioned about the commitment in terms of giving time, effort, and last but not the least, taking accountability. When one takes accountability, I'm sure whether it succeeds or not, they are eager and prepared to change course and go after it again. If they do not get it, if they get it, fabulous, and they will go for the next level. So that's a nice way to summarize as to the statement that often said, everyone deserves a coach and everyone can benefit from having a coach at any stage of their life or career. So that let's go to a very mystical question. Often there are myths around every subject. What is that one myth that you would like to break in today's conversation?
That's a very beautiful question, Kiran. And as I think of myths, there are so many floating around with respect to coaching. And allow me to go in for two myths, not one.
Sure.
Thanks. So I see the first thing, if I have to burst, is that coaching is not solutioning. It's not prescriptive, right? Because in coaching, we coach the person, not the problem. So that is one very important thing to bear in mind. The second myth, if I have to burst, is coaching doesn't need domain experience. Now, the reason why if I have to explain this further is, as a coach, I do not question my client's expertise in his industry. He is the expert in his own way. So I leave the technicality of the role aside. And in my capacity and my role, I help him to see and close the gaps in his approach, something that might hinder or derail him in moving from good to great, from stuck to unstuck. That is and there could be many issues in this case. It could be issues around his motivation, his emotions, behaviors, perceptions. So working around these makes it more empowering for him.
Interesting. I think this is yet one more powerful response coming from you, which I enjoyed thoroughly when you shared. It's not solutioning. Coaching is not prescriptive. And also you mentioned you are coaching the person and not the problem. Often they may come with the problem, but the one who gets coached, if it is the person, I think often one would realize the person is now much more capable to handle the problem. So this way of approach, I have noticed the person is so capable that when the next problem comes, she or he does not have to look for a coach. They are already developed that ability to attend to that challenge, problem, or whatever it is, in a much better way than they would have had if they hadn't had a coach for maybe months or years. And you also mentioned touched a very sensitive topic. One does not have to have an expertise of the domain of the coach. This really stands out for me when I often see a tag next to the coach of different terms. I'm being respectful of those identities, but at the same time, it makes me curious. A coach in their true self, at their purest form. I have been subscribing to this idea that I do not have to know the industry knowledge or experience from where the coachee has come, because the coachee sets the agenda. Coachee shares what they would like to share. Coach becomes a reflection, reflective surface, often called as mirror. In that case, I am subscribing strongly to the belief that I don't have to bring subject matter expertise to the table. But I think this conversation continues. But I am happy to hear from a fellow coach that yes, a domain expertise is not something that a coach needs to have when a coachee looks around for a coach. I think this is a message the coaches can take. Please, you do not have to look for a coach in that industry or a domain to make progress. If the coach is great, you like the conversation or the chemistry that you get along during the initial conversation, I think you should go ahead and give it a try. So thanks for that thought. And let's move to the next question. One coaching memory of yours that you would like to share with the audience while taking care of the confidentiality.
This is a tough one. With so many coaching conversations, and in each conversation, the client witnessing that aha moment, as we call it. And to pick one from these. So there was this client of mine who always felt stuck in his workplace. He was always operating from the victim mode, and he was not seeing progress happening. And through the coaching conversations, this powerful shift he witnessed from his stuck to unstuck when he saw his limiting beliefs that were impacting his performance. And at the end of the coaching session, he felt so free. He could breathe free. He could think free. So much so that now he's taken charge of his future and he's marching ahead confidently. So that is the power of coaching that I see. And let me share over here about this client that he was very committed. Whatever insights we gained in one conversation, he worked upon it so that when we came into the next session, we knew where we stand and where we needed to head further. So that makes it all the more beneficial for the client.
Got it. I think I must point out the most critical ingredient that you mentioned, commitment. If the coachee is committed, fully involved, I think where they can reach is decided by them. Often we think how many conversations would be required for the subject and so on. I think most often the coaches would be pleasantly surprised by their own progress if only they are committed and fully involved in the conversation, which you pointed out happened with this coachee. And it was nice I could even sense how he felt when you shared about how he broke free from those limiting beliefs and started thinking free and took complete charge. As an audience, if we can feel this transformation in that individual, I only can imagine what that individual would have felt and how much benefit he got by having these conversations and finding a way out by himself and is happy about it. So that's a great memory to share with us. Thank you for that. So with that, let's move on to the next question. Would you like to share with the audience what kind of a clients have you got to coach for?
Okay. So have you ever wondered, Kiran, that why is it sometimes we see people who have the same qualifications, the same expertise, and they perform differently in the same role. So what is that little difference that makes or breaks the whole thing? And as I see it, it is all about the value that they add in their work. So as a coach, I try to close in this gap and bring alignment of their personal and professional roles and goals. So the clients that I have coached and which I try to coach are So I coach from senior managers to first-time leaders. I also coach entrepreneurs and young emerging leaders who, in spite of having the highest potential, I see them struggling to strike that fine balance, which can actually make it work for them. And further, my website, which I have launched very recently, pritiguptacoach.com, that gives a full detail about the clientele, my coaching services, and the audience that I cater to.
Fabulous. So I think the website is something that one should check. And also, as you mentioned, a coach is, I think, success of a coach comes a lot, though it is felt by the coachee in the coachee closing the gap from where they want to be, where they are. And as long as they see and they're committed and they see themselves closing the gap, they are very happy. And I think they would be glad to continue with that coach and explore further. You also mentioned about the kind of coaches that you shared, being first-time leaders and people, and the ones who are even the senior leaders you mentioned. So that's nice to hear. With that, let's move to the next question. What value do you bring to the table as a coach?
As I just mentioned a while ago, Kiran, one of the values that I feel that I bring as a coach is this alignment of personal and professional spaces of a person. It's like when a person comes to work, he brings the whole of himself. He brings his own personal as well as the professional expertise. So once there is alignment in that, the outcome is miraculous. Secondly, as a trusted thinking partner, I act as a sounding board for my coachees to have this disruptive exploration in a safe space wherein they can ideate, think aloud, create new things for themselves. To many of my coachees, I am able to hold that mirror wherein, they know what they want. They know that it is there, but they don't want to see it. So I show them that they don't want to see. Other thing, if I have to think, is I don't leave my engineering hat behind. It's very much a part of me. And I'm able to leverage my analytical skills in my coaching conversations. That adds a little more value and variety from where I come from. So in a nutshell, if I have to say, I empower my clients to make themselves a priority, to take that inner leap within themselves, to move forward.
That's a fabulous response. I again struggled to capture the pulse of wisdom. In the very beginning, when you mentioned, if a coachee finally is able to align their professional and personal spaces, I think a lot happens on both the spaces. They tend to be more successful in their professional endeavors while being happy with what's happening in their personal space. And you just captured it in the word miracles. To the outside world, it would look like a miracle, but often the coachee realizes that it wasn't a miracle. It was a gradual progression that they help themselves unfold. They're very happy about it. And you also mentioned about creating that trusted space and also being a sounding board and being a thinking partner. Everyone, how much ever they may feel they are capable or talented, having a thinking partner is more. When you get more, you are likely to achieve more. You also mentioned about creating that safe space which every coachee relishes being in. Like a 10-year-old child, they feel that they can be anything in that space and feel free to have a conversation without any thoughts, doubts, apprehensions. And you mentioned beautifully when you mentioned about holding a mirror. A coach does something fabulous, which is holding the mirror and seeing in the mirror, not in its true sense, but also capturing the blind spots that they have been ignoring when it is shown in the mirror. I think it's so difficult for any coach to ignore in the midst of a coaching conversation. And then those uncomfortable moments will follow and the truth comes out and they will do something about it. You also mentioned about how you utilize your analytical skills. I think while being a mirror, that curious questions and the curiosity and the powerful questions is often also mentioned, brings that much required, those moments where that transformation begins. Often the coachee feels those aha moments. The last line I cannot miss mentioning is, when you're confidently sharing, I empower my coaches to take charge and move forward. I think that's something every coach aspires to do, so that the coachee goes back with a lot more confidence, and and also experiencing the progress that they wanted to see on that subject. So great response for that. One of the last questions. So that's the last question
Before you
indeed.
enter, before you enter to your last question,
Yeah,
I want to share something.
sure,
You are
please.
so beautifully, yeah, you are so beautifully capturing the essence of whatever we are speaking over here. I'm really enjoying to hear your reflections.
I am the selfish first beneficiary in every conversation. In fact, I never realized that I would benefit so much in having these conversations, even before it gets edited and posted on the channel. That now I'm looking forward to do a lot more before the audience benefit. In fact, I'm benefiting and enjoying that beautiful space of hearing these lines of wisdom and pearls of wisdom coming from my no, friend coaches. So that's a fabulous experience for me. So that's why I'm requesting many more coaches to come join in for this conversation. So with that, there is a
That's a
bonus
beautiful.
question that you will have to attend to, and that is,
Sure.
given an opportunity, what would be that just one advice for the wannabe coaches from you?
I would say you would also agree that coaching is one size doesn't fit all. It's all
Mm,
about customization. Coaching is not a set of questions to be followed.
mm,
It's not that we have a set of questions, we sit with our client and we are just rattling off the questions. It is more about being in the moment for the client, being able to dance with the client in the conversation.
mm,
And as they say that we can only take our clients as far as we have reached or
mm,
as far as we have gone. Coaching begins with first self work, personal mastery. The more we work upon ourselves, we will be able to take our clients further. And it is this personal mastery which ultimately leads to mastery of coaching. And as coaches, as you and I, coaches in this space, we all know that we are work in progress. We know that we have to keep working on ourselves. It is an endless journey. It doesn't stop today or tomorrow. It's a continuous evolution that happens. And one thought which I believe in, I want to share, take the opportunity to share over here is that we all bring our own special uniqueness and gift to this world as coaches.
mm.
So let us not try to fit in. It's important that we all be ourselves and be authentic.
I think that last word stands out, being authentic. I think it's something that every coach is encouraged to be, and even the coaches are encouraged to be your authentic self. That everyone else is taken. Why be someone else, or why try be someone else, and even fit in? No one has asked anyone to fit into anything.
Mm.
You also pointed out about it's a lot about self work, and then comes the personal mastery. I think this is something that stands out, that stood out for me in many conversations. That okay, what would I do in the coming years became lesser of significance when I realized I myself benefited a lot from becoming a coach. So that
Mm.
joy itself gives me a sense of contentment that I benefited, and it also leaves me with the confidence that in every conversation, the coachee will also benefit. And as you mentioned, when we make progress as coaches, in that next conversation, the coach also is likely to make little extra progress. So you aptly captured it. We all are work in progress. When we see we
Mm.
are work in progress, we'll continue to try to make things better for ourselves and to everyone around, including the coaches. On a day-to-day basis, or probably even in every next coaching conversation, it would happen. So being going deep as a coach and continue to get to the next level of depth, I think will help first the coach and the very next coaching conversation. I can probably safely say that line. So thanks a lot for that advice for the coaches and even those who would like to become a coach in the near future. So one last query that I would ask is, for those who would like to get in touch, what is the easiest way to reach Priti?
So the easiest way to reach me is I have tried to have my presence in a few places. I'm there on LinkedIn, I'm there on Facebook, and I have my own website through which they can reach me. The website gives them an idea of who am I, what I do, and the clients that I cater to, and what value I have brought to them so far. And Kiran, I must thank you for giving me this opportunity over here to be with you. I'm taking with me a very special moment, which is surely going to become a fond memory with me. It was great talking to you in this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Priti. And I will go ahead and feature the Priti's website on this video as well as in the description section. I would request the audience to pick up the website from there and know more about Priti. And if you are interested at any point of time, you can reach Priti to have a conversation. So with that, we come to the end of today's conversation. Hope that the conversation supported the coaches and the coaches and the wannabe coaches who have watched this conversation. And please feel free to share it with your friends and those whom you think will benefit from it. If you have any questions from this conversation, please drop a line in the comment section. I myself or Priti will reply to them on priority. And also go ahead, feel free to hit the like button if you like this conversation and subscribe so that the next video, when it gets uploaded, you will get a notification. Thanks a lot for being part of this conversation, Priti. And thanks to the audience.
Thank you.
So, till we meet again till the next conversation. Please be safe and have a good time. Take care, Priti. Bye.
Bye, Kiran. Bye. Thank you.